Hi everyone, my name is Morgan Arnold, and for my research proposal, I am planning on looking into the existence of political polarization in the United States, specifically its causes. The piece of scholarship I'm going to discuss today is really great because the authors essentially have the same intentions as me, except they look into Venezuela instead of the United States. So this piece is titled Measuring Political Polarization. Twitter shows the two sides of Venezuela. It was written by A.J. Morales, J. Barrando, J.C. Losada, and R.M. Benito. It was published by the Complex Systems Group at the Polytechnic University of Madrid, which is what the third line translates to. This work was published in May 2015, which is especially notable because this is right around the time that Venezuela began experiencing its most recent surge of extreme political instability. This work very effectively proposes a methodology to study political polarization and quantify its effects. So this work is asking how political polarization can be detected and therefore fixed. It addresses this by looking at digital evidence of political polarization, specifically on Twitter. It utilizes and acknowledges social media and the internet as a whole as an opportunity to measure phenomenon like polarization in real time. Essentially, what they did is they distinguished two types of individuals relevant to their study, which they titled elites and listeners. Elites have fixed opinion on politics and act as influences on others. Listeners depend on social interaction, including over social media, for their opinions. They defined elite individuals in their investigation as individuals who gained a noticeable amount of things like retweets and participated actively in political conversation on Twitter. After identifying elite users, they assigned them ideology values ranging from -1 to 1 to represent the two sides of the political spectrum and everything in between. They then deemed the remaining individuals, which was about 99.8 of users evaluated, the role of listeners, which were valued at the start right in the middle as 0 in the equation. They applied this methodology to Twitter conversation about the late Venezuelan president, Hugo Chavez. During their study, they found that political participation, specifically by listeners, was much higher on days where relevant political events occurred, such as the day he died. Using this formula, the authors were able to input data from Twitter to reach a polarization index. On the screen here, I have a simplified version of their equation. Like I said, this equation is very much simplified, but it does convey the message that they were sending with their equation. So one of the key takeaways that I found from the scholarship is that it was able to prove that social media platforms do represent an opportunity to detect political polarization. Before reading the scholarship, I was beginning to doubt this as being possible. Furthermore, the authors also took the time to contrast their results against real-world data, not collected from online sources or social media, and they found that their results still proved valuable and accurate. So this work applies to what I hope to produce because the authors were able to develop a methodology that quantified findings from social media into valuable data. It did prove social media is a valuable source for this topic, which is of great interest to me because this is something I've been debating honestly throughout the entire semester. And this work was also able to define different roles in political polarization quite simply, which is something I've also been struggling with. It did this by simply characterizing individuals/entities into two separate categories depending on their level of political polarization and knowledge, and then measure their political stance and where they fall on the polarization line, simply using their political participation trends on Twitter. To me, this work really proved that even though this is such a subjective topic with lots, with lots of epistemological issues, that it is indeed possible to measure political polarization quantitatively. Although the math and the equations were definitely enlightening, that really isn't what this work got through to me the most. It was more so just the fact that it is possible to use social media as a medium to measure political polarization, and that political polarization is in fact measurable at all, which I was also doubting. That's all I have. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day.